Works. Alrighty, so those of you who don't know, I did a tutorial recently describing how to draw a spider girl. So I'm going to just recap on that really quick, and then people who want to see other monster girls drawn, I can demonstrate that as well. I'll get to a dragon girl soon. First things first. For a arachne type, like Cecil in the thumbnail, start with the head, and you got the torso. So this is pretty standard. This is human. Then what I do is I add a circle for the thorax. And this would be about where the waist would be, except I kind of place it further back. If I were to do a line of action would curve this way, and would go through the center of that little circle there. Then I draw a big circle for the abdomen. These kind of go flush, kind of fits flush there, etc. Kind of simple. So from there, what I usually do is you can basically vary anatomy how you want. You can choose what stays and what goes. For when I draw a spider girl, I like to give them the pedipalps, which are the little feeler things that spiders have around their fangs, around their mouth. I kind of like to do them as legs, kind of similar to how Monster Musume does it. So this kind of represents the legs, or the thighs. Then for the legs themselves, you kind of just got to choose where you want them to go, and you want to space them so they start a little bit further away from the torso, because they're going to connect it through another method. Just kind of draw 4 or 3, depending on how many you want. That's good. I'm not going to do the ones in the far back because they're a little bit messy. Anyway, from there, now we can start making stuff, give stuff some volume. Like these. And these. Draw the underside of the pedipalps. Etc. Give her some boobage. Yeah, legs are kind of the most annoying part of drawing a spider girl. That's why I usually have Cecil kind of partially cropped. One thing I like to do when drawing a spider girl is I usually have the eyes sitting a bit lower so the forehead's bigger. Even though it makes them look younger, the reasoning for it is they're usually going to have eyes on their forehead as well. Kind of to basically prepare for that. Do the arms however you want. Those are just going to be humanoid. Alright, now to actually connect the legs together. So what I do next is I kind of just keep them thick. These are pretty generic shapes and they're pretty simple. Just draw kind of tubes. Thing about the legs is that they're all going to converge to close to the same area. They basically kind of fan out like this, like the red lines there. So that's what you want to basically kind of aim for. You can draw the red lines like that if you want, or you can just kind of wing it. It doesn't have to be super precise. Same thing over there. And also I'm going to draw the ends of the other legs on the far side, but I'm going to do them lightly just because they're not 100% necessary. That. And I'm not going to make this into a puppet later. Sebastian, please don't advertise your personal projects here. This is not the place for that. Alright. So then just continue on as normal. Start putting details in where you need. I have these little joint things on the tops of the legs, like so. And then you can start detailing out characters' features, hair and nose and things like that. Monster Masu meme. Twin tails? No, she has twin tails. Yeah. As you can see, flesh it out as normal. Gotta give her Monstergirl panties. Alright, and then from here, this is done. Pretty straightforward, because all you have to do then is ink it. So then one other thing I covered is, one aspect about Cecil is that she's not 100% anatomically correct. The spider legs technically come in the following segments. When you have the thorax, you have this part, then you have this little part that sticks out here, then you have a tube thing right here, and then starts this part, which I have this drawn, and then you have this weird joint thing, which I have that drawn, but yet mine's shorter, and then you have this thing like this, and this is where I kind of get inaccurate, because then it goes down like this, and then it goes like this into blah. And what I've done is I've taken these two elements and I've combined them into one. And I've taken these two elements and I've combined them into another. So that's not technically accurate, but you can do whatever works for you. When Cecil was originally conceptualized, she was literally just this for her legs. Oops. Something like this. And if you know the Shantae game coming up, that's actually the style for Shantae's legs in her spider form. So you can do whatever works for you and stuff. So now I'm going to start doing other monsters and stuff, because those were requested. So let's see, I saw a slime girl suggested. So I will do a slime girl, because that'll be an easy one. Good for you, Wallaby. Congratulations. By the way, I can see every single chat. I can see Picarto, I can see Twitch, and I can see YouTube all at once, and you can see them all at the bottom. So if you say something, I'll be able to see it. Alright, so a slime wizard girl. So slime girls are relatively... they're going to be relatively straightforward at first, because they're going to have the most very humanoid anatomy, so you can basically draw them however you would normally draw a girl or a human. The one thing you might want to do, depending on how gooey they are, is you might want to actually kind of get lazy around the waist down, because you can make them be kind of goopy and kind of melty. I'm going to stick to up top. There's honestly so many different ways to do slime girls. One thing I commonly see is that they often have like some kind of goopy antenna. There's Sue, she has her thing. If you guys know kind of Herny Arts Marina, I think she has a goopy thing. I can't remember, I might be imagining things. Yes, she has kind of bunny ear style antennae thing. So the key thing is that everything with a slime girl is going to be amorphous. So you don't want to try and have anything too orderly or patterned. Things kind of just run together and flow and stuff like that. The key thing with slime is that you need to pay attention to gravity lower overall. Like, if you have a ball, or if you have a circle of goop, it's going to wind up looking like this. It's going to basically, after gravity has its way with it, it's going to look like this. It's going to have a bit of drippiness on it. You know, gravity kind of pulls it down. You want it to be really runny or dirty. You can have it kind of get tense and kind of tighten around the strand and then goop up at the end as it forms the droplets. So this looks like semen. I swear to fucking God. Yeah, you can draw slimes however you want, make them as human or as inhuman as you want. And use Ed's Marina because she's a cutie. Yeah, slimes are a lot less rigorous. Do whatever works for you. The thing to remember is just kind of just those detailing rules that I demonstrated. You'll really notice that kind of like if you decide to give them hair or anything like that. Wanted her to be a wizard. She's cosplaying as a wizard. I gotta remember how to position arms correctly. Got a wizard hat, because of course she does. I'm gonna make her melting. So she's also going to be naked. So, yeah, not that you guys would complain. Bunch of sinners probably are rejoiced by that. So yeah, the key thing that I mentioned was that you just want things for a slime girl to get goopy. So basically just choose in areas where gravity would kind of follow and just kind of make them goopy. So like down the arm might be a spot, elbow might be a spot, and it depends on also how runny you want them to be. He's pretending to melt, so this is going to be kind of excessive. Another example of how Luke might run. And if it's running off on something, like something physical, it can basically just follow the same properties as water or other viscous fluids, like semen. Oh no, I am something. Yeah, basically kind of how you would do a slime girl. Okay, so what's next? I think I remember dragons being requested. So, dragons. Again, you do them kind of like a normal human would, with a few caveats. So luckily for you guys, I actually have a dragon girl to do. So, for a dragon girl, starting on the face, you'd obviously want to make it a dragon's face, but you kind of need to decide what degree of anthropomorphization you want to use. So like, in my case for Lishna, her snout is a little bit shorter, slightly humanized, and it's pretty square. So the key thing for snouts is that this also applies for drawing any furry or anthro character. Envision it kind of as being like a gas mask or something attached to the face. So, it can be squarish, it can be round, whichever works best for whatever it is you're drawing. Key thing is just that it has to line up with the face. Like in Lishton's case, it's kind of like that, but I already know that that's there. It's drawn or sometimes. The eyes, you do them just like you would human eyes, actually. You might want to have them spaced a little bit apart just because you have the snout in the way. You can always extend parts of the head out a bit, because heads are never perfect circles. You also got like those ear horn things, and then you can do the crest however you want. It all varies depending on what species of dragon you're doing, what details you want to use, etc. Just do the features as you would normally. Got like these ringlets, Padme, except she's not a bitch. You can do the chest, etc. I'm gonna just keep going as normal until I get down to the legs, because legs are actually where things get interesting. I will get to the wings momentarily as well. So for the legs, if you're planning on not making them plantigrade, which is plantigrade would be like bipedal, like a normal human. If you're planning on making them digigrade, some more animalistic and stuff, you want to make sure that the thigh is a bit shorter than normal. So like right here, thighs are short. What I like to do is I like to figure out where the feet will go before doing anything with the legs, because the legs are going to be, basically the legs are going to look like this. The key thing is that they need to sit over top. So there would be a joint out there and then the feet would be down here somewhere. So I basically just kind of figure out where I want the feet to go and how far apart I want them to be spaced. I usually give her a wide stance because she's a warrior. And figure out where the feet are. And Gaiax, or unless Gaiax you mean that you're bouncing between different streamers. Which, yeah, that would be hectic. Lishna is a warrior, so she has some fierce abage going on. And pretty heavy muscle detail. In fact, those aren't boobs, even though they might look like it. They're actually pecs, because she is fucking jacked. So, once you figure out where you want the feet to go, you just have to connect them. Right here, the legs are going to basically be stretched. She's on her talons. Over here, they're going to be squashed more. Part is honestly the hardest part when drawing the legs, is trying to figure out where the hock and the joints go, how pronounced do you need them to be, etc. That is wrong. But it's okay. Just spread out the thigh a little bit. Forearms. Now the thing, if you want your dragon character to be able to fly, they need to have very good shoulder muscles for it to even be feasible. And you can use magic bullshit to justify everything, anything you want, but if you want a semblance of realism, you need to make sure that they are fit as hell. So for the tail, basically next, the underside will connect that way, and then on the top side, kind of connect where the hip starts, and then you can just draw the tail out how you normally would. So this a little bit. So then for the wings. The wings, you can style them however you want, but the key thing is just where they're going to connect. The wings are going to basically affix to the shoulder blades somewhere. So if you were to look at our back, it would be about in this spot and this spot. So you kind of just draw the muscle tissue and you kind of treat it like you would arms, except the forearm, the wing would be a lot longer. And then you kind of have like this little palm type thing where you have the claw, and then you have the membrane part of the wing. And in Lishna's case, it kind of has an extra joint in there so they can fold up. So that. Then you just have the membrane kind of wrapping around and adhering to limbs. Like so. Then you can put however many bones go inside the wings as you need. That's how you do that. One thing I forgot is she also has the braid, but we don't really care about that. I mean, you probably do care about that, but it's not relevant to this lesson. Alright, so what else do people want to see? Bees? Okay, bees, I can do bees. It's hip to fuck bees. There's that one bee character. I can't remember the artist's name, but she's really popular, and she's really fucking cute. So, a bee girl. Because it's hip to fuck bees. Again, girl as normal. And in her case, she is a lot more human, so it's actually fairly easy. So you can draw basically the normal human as you want. Pretty hip. So once you get your girl drawn, however you need, monster anatomy. So, the named two things that would define a B-girl would probably be her stinger and her wings. And maybe she has a fuzzy collar, because bees are kind of fuzzy. Friendly bees. So for the bee stinger, basically just be kind of a oblong circle. In some states we call that an oval. Finger on it. And add these stripes, like so. And then you just got the wings, which bee wings are pretty simple. They're just kind of a fat rounded triangle, and then another kind of fat rounded triangle. And if you want to get detail, you can basically add the veins, which is essentially just making kind of a spiderweb pattern through it all, like so. It's really easy to do. I'm not going to spend too much time on that. If you want them to be buzzing, you can basically just draw after images of them, kind of like so. Just add motion lines. Lines are powerful. They can make something look like it's hot, or loud, or fast. Wow, I put that hand way too low. So yeah, that's how you draw a bee. Pretty hip. So, what's next? What more do people want to see? And yeah, I'll make this a regular video to watch afterwards because I'm not playing any music or anything. It'll be public. So, what more do people want to see? Spider? I've actually already done Spider. Spider was actually the very first one that I did. You can scrub backwards to the very first example and see me draw Cecil. I will do Centaur because Centaur is a little bit more interesting anatomy. Oh, and unless spectral sheep, unless you mean something more like a bipedal kind of spider, like one that has multiple arms, kind of like Muffet from Undertale. I can do that if you'd want me to. All right, so next I will do Centaur. Okay, I will do Centaur, and then I'll do a biped spider, and then I will figure out where to go from there. So Centaur is going to be similar to a Drider, or a Arachne. Basically have female anatomy, or male. Centaurs can be boys. And then you have the lower half of the torso, the waist, placed a bit further back than normal. Then you have to basically understand horse anatomy, and you draw another circle here. And it's not, this time it's actually not connected, so you should basically kind of wind up with like an L shape. Flush this out. Centaurs, honestly, I still have trouble with horse legs, but the key thing with Centaurs is you want to try and make sure you don't place the rear too far back, and you also don't want it to be too close. If it's too close, it'll look like some My Little Pony bullshit, and if it's too far back, it'll just look disproportionately huge. So that's kind of how you get it connected there. Kind of get the L shape going. Now the human anatomy is whatever you want. Have her with her arms crossed. She's got big boobers. Have glasses. And she's fed up with all the sin she has to deal with. Some people give their centaurs human ears. I like to kind of give them slightly more animalistic ears, just because I think they're cute. But you can do whatever you want. So one thing to consider is that you probably wouldn't want to give your centaur character a belly button. I mean, you can if you really want to, but it technically wouldn't make anatomic sense if you think about it. Generally accepted that centaurs are a little bit more humanoid with their anatomy. So, for drawing the legs, this is where things get tricky for them. You kind of want to draw it like you would normally, like standing as a human, except the thigh is short. Like so. And then just kind of straighten it out. Just trying to figure out where you want things to go. And I usually draw the hooves very first thing. And studying horse anatomy will help a lot with this. I'm just kind of winging it right now, so I'm sure I'm getting some inaccuracies, but the same general principle applies. For horse legs, they're usually going to be kind of like got the shoulder, you got the knee, then you got the foreleg, and then usually for the end they kind of have like this weird kind of heel shape, and then the hooves kind of sit forward a little bit. This is kind of the shape that you want to bring over here. For the hind legs, and these a little bit easier for some reason, you have basically kind of like a thigh again. Then I like to put a circle for the hawk, and this is similar to drawing the dragon legs from before. Breaking that out. Hoof. The thing with a hind legs, I'll just kind of duplicate it. The thing with the hind legs is that this right here, this is the knee. This, the hawk. So you'd kind of imagine the hawk is equal to heel for the human. And so then this here would be kind of like ball of foot, then toe, nail. So it's really kind of weird. It basically kind of, probably could actually afford to lower this a little bit. But basically, this short little gap between the knee and the hawk is basically equivalent to what you'd have for your shin or your foreleg. So it's just weird. And lastly, for the tail, tails aren't just hair. They actually have a little bit of flesh, and they connect into the spine that sit right above the butt. I remember seeing a debate on Tumblr where people were trying to figure out, a lot easier when it's on an actual animal butt, but people are trying to figure out like, oh hey, when you have a tail, don't draw it coming out here, draw it coming out all the way up here. And neither of those are fucking accurate. Tail will come out at the base of the spine like this. This is the accurate way. Oops. I'm going to draw this just because I'm passionate about this. This is no. Oops. This is no. This, yes. That's where tails go, if you ever want a tail on an animal or human. Anyway, back to this. So yeah, you have basically the stump of the tail, and then that actually kind of goes out like this, but you don't see it because it gets covered in hair, so then you just draw the hair however you want. And she has curly hair. That's how you do a centaur. One thing that is a little bit confusing is this spot right here. You kind of need to decide how hefty or how thick or whatever character is. If she's more on the lithe side, it'll probably curve this way. It kind of just depends on how wide their hips are and what angle you're at. I don't know exactly how to describe this section, but just do it what looks best, to be honest. And remember, you can always adjust things. Alrighty. So let's see, then I said I would do a bipedal spider girl. I'll do snake girl after I do a bipedal spider. Alrighty. So if you want to do more of a monstery spider girl, one less like an arachne, the one that's more like consistently spider throughout all parts. Again, just basic anatomy, character. And so the key thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to try and fit 8 limbs onto a human frame. That's where the challenge lies for a bipedal spider girl. So you can either vary this so that way they have 2 legs and two arm, or 2 sets of legs and 2 sets of arms, or you can do it so they have 1 set of legs and 3 sets of arms. If you're getting more legs, you're probably going to just wind up with an arachne, so why would you do this a bipedal in the first place? So I'm going to just do 2 legs, and we're going to do 6 arms. So first things first, a bipedal spider girl is very likely going to have a more spidery face. So eyes, and then put in more eyes. And just keep adding eyes until there's so many eyes that you can see everything and you are now the beholder. Do the mouth however you want. Make it as grotesque as you want, as realistic as you want. I'm just going to do normal, cute little fangs. And then she probably won't have a nose, because spiders generally do not have noses. Did you know? I'm going to give her little bows, because she's cute. Oh, whoops, I accidentally drew Muffet. Whoopsie poopsie. I don't know if this is accurate Muffet, but whatever. So you got your first arm. Put that where you want it. I'd imagine that a anthro spider girl would be more lithe, because spiders generally are pretty lithe, though there are thicker species out there, but this one's going to be lithe. So first arm will connect here, say. Then second arm will go right below that where the armpit is, so right around in this section. And you got to figure out where you want it to go. I'm going to have her stretching above her head. Kind of imagine it like a bunch of different poses instead that you're just overlaying on top of one another. Stretching. Another leg, arm going this way. And you can't see it, but it's grabbing the other arm as she stretches. So then that connects there. Then lastly, we have the third arm, kind of just idly floating off in space. I don't really know where to put it. Generally, it's better to figure out where you want the hands to go before you draw the arms, because that'll save you a lot of time. And have her waving. Then the thumb would be on the inside. Think for a minute there. Hand would go there. Doing arm drawing tricks would be really helpful for this part. Yeah, now she's got all of her arms. Probably only have 2 fingers per hand. Likewise, the same is probably true of her feet. Probably just 2 claws. The thing with a anthro spider is that they probably would not have an abdomen. I'm not going to bother putting one on her. But if you did want one, it would just kind of go in this area here. Yeah, that'd be roughly how you do an anthro spider. It's namely just trying to figure out where you put their limbs. If you have any monster that has like multiple limbs, it'd be the same principle. Like I've seen 4-armed demon characters and stuff, and you basically do the same thing, where you basically take their back. Their normal arms are right here, and the extra arms kind of gradually extend onto the spine. Wings also work by a similar process, except wings would probably go a little bit closer to the shoulder blades. Bug characters, you'd also do the same thing, like White Mantis's character. And then, of course, you can also give them carapace if you want, because, I don't know, I kind of like carapaces. Cool. Alright, so next up there was... Yeah, there's no pedipulse on this one. If you want to figure out a way to put them on there, you can go for it. Because this is bipedal, I'd imagine that the pedipulse would go in the face, and that's kind of all completely up to you. If I were to do pedipulps on the face, I'd kind of go like this. And it would look like tusks, like a troll from World of Warcraft. Alrighty, so next up we had a snake girl. So if you want to see a Lamia / Naga, here we go. By the way, as far as I know, the difference between a Lamia and a Naga is capable of shapeshifting and a Lamia is not. That's about the core difference. So, got the character pose. And have her doing some weird dancing movements. So just kind of draw them like as normal till you get to the waist, because of course everything that's monster is always going to be down below the waist. When was the last time you saw something that had a human lower half and a monster upper half? The answer is never, because artists are not creative. I'm just kidding. So, again, for the ears, you can do them how you want. Monster Musume has very wide ears, kind of fin-like. I've seen a lot of people just do elf-type ears, so I'm going to just do that. I kind of like that. And give her short hair. Gonna give her a bit of scaling. I positioned that ear wrong. Turn her face. Cute. Second there, it felt like I was kind of going in the direction of Twisted Grimm's Demon Girl. Alright. We got our upper body. So for the snake body, this is actually... Nagas and Lamia are actually a little bit better, or a little bit easier to do. And this would also be similar to a worm girl, if you wanted to do something that's like a worm Lamia. So what you do... This is the way I like to do it. I like to map out which direction I want this to go first. Kind of just draw and draw and draw and draw a long line. Thing with snakes is that their heart and their chest and their things like that are usually pretty far forward, and then the rest of them is largely just a stomach. So they're going to be pretty long. But the key thing is that it's going to be thickest for the first few segments. So basically kind of have this, and I'm going to have this come down a little bit more. So drop it down there. And then you want to make sure that it goes flat. So we will worry about the rest of that in a bit. For now, let's clear this out. We want to make sure that our snake girl she's well attached to her body. So we have the underside of the snake belly. Goes like that. And just kind of melds into her. You can have whatever platelets you want. If you want to give them a vagina, you'd put the vajayjay there. It kind of doesn't make sense, but whatever. And you just kind of wrap it around. And this is just a matter of understanding how coils work. If you need to, you can actually draw snakes very easily by making repeated coils like this. And just imagining that this gives it volume. Go thinner when you're going horizontal. Like right here, this would be facing the camera. Kind of draw it like a giant slinky. And you can use this method to basically flesh out the volume if you don't want to do it just by eyeballing it, like I'm doing here. I recommend using the coil method if you're not very experienced. Then you just but otherwise you just kind of map it around the guide construction line you drew, follow it all the way through, and commit to it. And then if you want to give patterns on her back, you can do that. Patterns can help show the volume plot, is useful. And it's especially helpful around the curves where the volume kind of gets lost. And that's about how you do a snake girl. Snake. No step on snake. No, please no steppy. Don't step on me. Some other things sometimes people will do is they'll actually kind of add like a buffer. It's kind of mermaidish. I don't really care much for it, but some people do. If you want to add any anatomy things, I kind of like to add scales kind of going down the back a bit. That's one thing you can do. But whatever works for you. It's kind of just patterning at this point. So, there was some other stuff that had been suggested. What was it? I'm looking at the chat. I see Scorpion. Do you want me to do Scorpion, or do they want me to do something else? I'm not going to do a flaming red communist made tree girl on ice. Alright, Scorpion. I've already done slime. Scorpion, did you want to see something more of like an Arachne style one? Or did you want to see something more of like just a bipedal one? I've already done Dragon. I should just make a list of everything I've done so far. Fighter. I should probably just type this. It's so much faster than handwriting. So far. Arachne. Pedal. Fighter. Dragon. Slime. Lamia. Naga. Centaur. And this will all be up on YouTube, so if you missed it, you can come check it out. Alright. So what else? What more do people want to see? Scorpion. Biped Scorpion. Okay. So, I'm actually going to go a little bit in depth on this one. Because I feel like it. I always spell Scorpion wrong. Gotta stop doing though. Here is something that is really native to my place. And I will do Harpy after Scorpion because the Harpy is a good one. And also, I'm not drawing furries, I'm drawing specifically monsters. So, scorpions. Things to notice about this. Scorpions, they kind of have bulbous features. Notice the limbs, they kind of look like this. This. Yes. And they got a boot. They got them working boots. And their tail is like round segments. So that's the thing to note. So, what we're going to do is we're going to do a bipedal scorpion girl. So draw the basic profile that you want. Fit on. Be a little on the short side. It's fine. Really mean eyes. Really, the thing that people are gonna remember with the scorpions is just gonna be the thing they're gonna be looking for is the tail. That's gonna be the big thing. So probably profile that out. The key thing is with the scorpion tail is the shape that it has and the direction it goes. It's basically kind of a bubble with a scythe on it. And the way it works is this is actually a sharp edge down on this corner. What it does is it scrapes like this, it tears, and this squirts off poison. And you basically cuts you and squirts poison on you, and that's the way it works. That's why scorpions are venomous. But because we're going to give her claws, I can't really do hands on hip pose. Scorpion claws are so weird, totally honest. They're big, they're fat. Her arms would probably be on the thicker side, because she's a scorpion. Scorpions have bulbous features. Usually, anyway. Again, if you want to give them multiple legs, you'd kind of just follow the same principles as the spider girl, the bipedal spider that I drew earlier, but otherwise you can just do it however you want. Do whatever is normal, or whatever you find useful. I'm only going to give her 2 legs, because I don't feel like drawing 4, or 8. I'm going to make them thick. Why not? So, honestly, the only thing that you guys probably really need to see is how I do the tail. So the thing with a scorpion tail is usually, if you notice, this side is fairly flush, whereas this side is the part that has the segmentation on it. So if you kind of imagine it, it's going to basically look a lot like a series of semicircles, kind of like this, ending at the tabby on the top. Roughly how it's done. Now this is of course assuming you want them to have like big meaty claws, stuff like that. Yeah. Okay, anyway, moving on. A centaur scorpion girl would follow very similar principles as to an arachne and a centaur, yes. And then a worm would, of course, follow similar logic as according to a lamia or a naga. So you kind of use the same stuff as there. I'm not going to do a worm. Harpy, though. Harpy is something that I can definitely do because that's an interesting one to tackle. Because everything else so far has been focused mostly on the legs, not on the arms. And harpies are very arm-focused. So for a harpy, you want to make sure you choose a gesture that has very expressive arms that are very wide and very long. So yeah. Pappy the Pappy. Pappy's honestly my favorite character from Monster Musume. I like Arachne a lot. I like Arachne. But Pappy is, in my opinion, the most likable character. Over, I'm not drawing Pappy at the moment. I'm just drawing another bird girl. So, connecting these, I want to make sure that the arms are very well attached. And just make sure that the arms are long enough. So they'll kind of be a little bit longer than human arms, but not terribly long where they're disproportionate. Sometimes might have a small claw or something. Tackle the wings in a moment. Alright, so the wings are where things kind of get a bit messy for any bird or feather character. Kind of have to choose where the wings start, whether they connect all the way to the body or if they kind of end near the elbows. And then you kind of have to figure out how much volume you want them to take up first. Generally, wings take up a lot of space in order for them to be effective at flying. So this is about how much space I'm going to want them to take up, and then this line right here is kind of the profile of how big I want the wings to be, or how big I want the feathers to be. And then this is where things get tedious for harpies, is they have 3 layers of feathers. Actually, let me get a sample of the wings. I don't know if I'll wind up finishing any of these alpha. I might, if I like any of them. I might put it up to a Patreon vote. But these are kind of just for teaching and stuff. Right, so here is a simple example of bird wings. As you can see, there's kind of 2 main sections for the bird wings: the primaries, secondaries, and then there's 3 rows on each. So this is where it's just kind of, this is why feather characters are kind of annoying to make. They basically kind of have this part, the alula, is basically proportional to basically right here where this goes. Then you have the thing that's really weird about harpies is that generally I see them drawn, I don't know how accurate it is, but like generally I see them drawn with longer forearms rather than biceps. And like looking at most bird anatomy, you'd expect the opposite to be true. But then again, this stuff right here is more... Actually, no, never mind. I'm not inaccurate. Marginal cuvets would basically be comprised of both the bicep and the tricep, whereas the allula would be comprised of the hand, or the equivalent of the hand. My bad, I was getting a little confused there. So you want to put your first row of feathers up. You can have some detailing to show where the arm goes, or if you so desire. And you put in the second row of feathers, and this one has to be a little bit more neat and orderly. And the key thing you want to do is you want to try and have things pushing outwards. If you notice these wings right here, or these feathers, they're kind of going outwards. Then lastly, you have these big-ass feathers. Which these are... You can cheat and make them bigger, but try to line up one between every single secondary, roughly. And you can choose a shape for them, what suits your needs. You can make them sharper, make them less sharp. But man, I do not like drawing wings, or at least bird wings. If you want to rush it, you can basically kind of just do... Honestly, I don't think people would really care if you rush it too much. Depends on how anatomically accurate you're trying to be. I know even Monster Musume, for as trashy as it was, but as amazing as it looked, it wasn't 100% accurate all the time. So, wings aside, the other thing to focus on is also the legs. Some people, they give their harpies kind of like the lower half is feathery and soft. Other people, they might give them just the scaling part, bird scales. In either case, they usually have some kind of digigrade to them, a soft level of digigradeness, so kind of like this. That way they have the talon aspect. Monster Musume made this really obvious. Let me get the bullet. Then you basically just would have whatever you would have for the scaling. And you can do it however you want. What I like to do is I kind of like to do rows like this. And then I just kind of separate these out. So, and then I finish them slightly different angle. And for the feet, I kind of just segments. And let's give her panties, because all monster girls need panties. Then after that, if you want to give them tail feathers are actually fairly easy. Kind of choose a spot and draw tail feathers, and then add a second layer. And there you go, that's tail feathers. Yeah, that's roughly how you do it. Harpies are... I like harpy characters, but good god, I hate drawing feathers. Sometimes you want to simplify them. If you want to do simpler wings, one option is just to kind of do the basic profile. Kind of like this. And sometimes this will look better. Sometimes you might want to do it this way. This is an anatomic styling. Style's purpose should be to represent anatomy, not replace it. If you want to do wings like that, that's also an option. So anyway, what else was there? See, Dryad. So I will do a Dryad slash Trent Girl slash Plant Girl slash Halloran, however you pronounce that. So, there's honestly so many ways that you can do a plant type character. generally they're going to be more straight, like rigid bodies and stuff. So you don't have to make them as humanoid. So I'm going to start with a tree. This is going to be weird. I'm going to fuck a tree. Actually, let's just go straight to plant. Piranha Trent is a little bit too out there. Actually, I will be right back, I promise. I just need to get some water. 1 minute. Alright, I'm back. So, we're doing Plant Girl, Dryad, Alron, whatever you want to call it. So, plants. There are so many different ways you can do it. You just kind of choose which elements you want. Believe it or not, Pokemon actually does a good job of kind of demonstrating this. If you look like Lilligant and stuff like that. I have one plant girl I very rarely draw. The interesting thing about plants is that they do not necessarily need to have as human anatomy as you need. Because they're going to be based on plant matter, not based on human biology. And I'd imagine that they have very little human biology aside from maybe a few exterior parts. Usually plant girls are kind of more of a ruse because they're plants. So generally, you're just gonna try and figure out some areas where they basically the leaves are kind of more central to their design or where they're most common. Usually, there's going to be some kind of skirt going on for a plant character. So like for Leaf, she has a typical plant skirt. She's also got a very thin body, like abnormally thin. Like no human or biological creature would ever be that thin. And she's got big ol' boobers that change depending on how much water she has. And then she's also got more leaves on her neck area, kind of as a collar. And then kind of act as a shawl. And then she's got vines which kind of act like tentacles. She is carnivorous. Got a very big mouth. She was actually originally kind of inspired by the Florians from Starbound. She's got leaves kind of on her head, kind of like that one Digimon, I think it is. Digimon and Pokemon are actually really good sources to look for inspiration. Plants, you can basically go nuts on them. They have a lot less rules than a human because there's so many different ways a plant can grow. Plants more have just a few features that are consistent rather than an entire body type. As long as so you can kind of pick and choose which features you want present. Kind of like coming up with your own species, or your own animal, essentially. Then, of course, plants are going to have roots. So in this case, she is rooted into the ground. You might have a plant character that's more mobile, but if you want to do roots, you can kind of get like a twisty effect going to kind of make it look like she's more entangled to the ground and more entrenched, or whatnot. Have them kind of flesh out and spread out. Make it more viney. And there you go. That's how you do Plant Girl. You can do it other ways if you want. If you want to give them leaves for arms. So many different ways that you can do this that I don't want to go focus on it too much because there's not really any rules for Plant Girls. So, what's next? I saw Frog Girl suggested. I'll do Frog Girl unless somebody has a better suggestion. Let me go back to the list. Let me just put it aside. Plant Girl, Scorpion Girl. What else did we do so far? Lamia. Plant. Harpy. Alright, so what's next? I keep hearing someone. Can't tell if it's on the other. Try to suggest stuff that are... Well, I made all the B jokes. But try to suggest stuff that's not just like an animal type character, but something that's like actually like viewed as a monster. So like something that's a more monstrous type animal, or something that's just outright a monster. Like a dragon's a monster. And the more inhuman you can get, the better. I can do demon. It's going to be very... It's not really going to be that complex, because a demon is going to be just basically a girl with horns and wings. And alien is way too vague. Unless you're talking about like a specific kind of alien. If you're talking about something specific, oh, anglerfish, that's actually a good one, because I actually made a character recently. So anglerfish, specifically an angler mermaid, I'm going to do. So, now mermaids in general, they of course are going to have the humanoid upper body, and then they become fishy down below. But this is an angler, so I'm going to make her a little bit slouched. Kind of decrepit. Also, I'm not going to give her much of a nose because she lives in the deep, so she needs to look a little bit more monstery. Anglerfishes will have vertical fins, and they're pretty big, so this fin is going to kind of And it's going to go like this. It's also going to have shoulders will be right here. I'm going to give her slightly longer arms, that way I can justify giving her very long claws, because she is a deep sea mermaid, an abyssal mermaid. So, creepy rake-like arms. The thing with anglerfishes is that they have very long spines on them as well. I'm going to give her a few of those. And I can make them into fins as well for a few things. I'm going to give her big black eyes because she lives in the ocean, so she can barely, or in the deeps, so she can barely see. Kind of alien. Anglerfish typically have very large mouths as well. I'm going to give her a slightly elongated jaw, teeth, and of course she'll have a lure going from her head, because she is an anglerfish and she angles. It's gonna be affixed like a unicorn horn. And then give her a big old dorsal on her back. That would look cool. And have a lot of spines. And the high pressure that she lives in has given her kind of awkward anatomy. Very spiny, very delicate, very skittish, very shy. She just wants you to hold her hand, even if it is kind of sharp and scary looking. And if she scrapes it against the glass, it'll give you nightmares. She doesn't want to hurt anyone. And then, of course, because she is a monster girl, she needs to have any of her hair. Because she's in the deep sea, don't have to worry about gravity. The water, her hair will basically kind of follow whichever way she's been moving. Or if she's standing still, it'll kind of just float in zero, as if it's in 0G. So yes, that is about how I would make an angler girl. And this is actually a character I've already designed before, but I'm reintroducing her because I thought I like her and think she's cool. And I like scary monster girls as well as cute monster girls. I think they can be both. And she would probably also have some bioluminescent scales or little bits along her body. I mean, anglerfish do have a little bit. Not too many, but a little. But yeah, that's about how I would do that. See, the way I kind of came up with her is basically the key things that I remembered is anglerfish have a lot of spines. They've kind of got delicate bodies. I guess I should technically kind of give her a little bit more thickness because anglerfish are kind of thicker themselves. They're very round. Popular kind is football fish, and football fish are very football shaped. But I don't know. There's also other deep sea fish that are also very, very thin. Like they look like they could snap easily in two. And the reason why the teeth aren't larger in this case is because I kind of had her mouth closed mostly. The idea that I have for her is that her mouth can actually open up a wide amount, kind of like a few other species of bioluminescent fish that can really like drop their jaw down, and her teeth actually look like this. Very, very, very long. Yeah, her jaw unhinges. Kind of horrific, but she's not mean. Alright, so what next? Fish, mermaid. What else do people want to see? Oops. Hit me. Come on, hit me. I'm not going to do a Dualahan because that's just a human. This isn't just Monstergirls, these are specifically Monstergirl anatomy. I think a snake-bodied, snake-haired snake girl would just be a snake. Kraken or Griffin might be a good one. What did Moonshine suggest? Never mind, he didn't. Some of you are suggesting monsters that I don't know what the hell they even are. I don't know what an underwater human wedding girl is. Cyclops, I'll do Cyclops really quick. Cyclops is pretty simple. I'm only going to draw the head because that's going to be the only thing that's going to be different. The one thing that I see often done wrong with Cyclops characters is that they make the eye too big, which while they're supposed to have a single eye, if you do it too big, you got to remember that there's only so much headspace that you have. So like if you make the eye like this, it basically means that the eye is taking up pretty much everywhere where the brain would be. So you got to be careful with how big you make the eye. I guess one thing that you could also do is you could also remove the nose, or make the nose very small. Ooh, what is going on? Good. Key thing is you want to try and make sure that there's room for the brain. A Cyclops brain would probably look something like, whereas a human brain looks like this, and like that. Cyclops brain probably looks, and from the front it would look like this. Cyclops brain probably looks more like this. And then from the front, like, kind of has like a channel in the back. This. Simply because the eye is going to take up so much space in the head that you'd kind of need to have more. The brain would have to be differently shaped for it to work. Where the brain would kind of have to wrap around the eye, kind of create like a socket for it. Just one thing to consider. Also, just a notice to people, I might have to put a limit on how many times you can post a second on YouTube because people keep like typing the same thing over and over and over again. There's some things that I'm just not going to wind up doing. Again, this is trying to demonstrate like anatomy specific to monster characters. But try to suggest stuff that would have interesting anatomy, like stuff like a demon girl isn't really interesting anatomy because that's going to be fairly typical anatomy. It's going to be normal human anatomy with horns and wings, and there's not really much I can show with that. Yeah, that's about all there you'd have to know for a Cyclops girl or Cyclops character. Yeah, stuff that's anatomically complex, like an arachne or a harpy or centaur, stuff like that's good. Stuff that's just a human with ears or something, that's... I don't know what a griever is. I'll do a demonstration of how to put multiple heads on a character, and then Hydra would just be, you combine that with a dragon. But I don't really feel like drawing a Hydra girl. And a Batgirl with I call them Bat Harpies. It'd still be the same principle as a Harpy, but I do actually have a Batgirl character who is specifically a Bat Harpy. But yeah, you got the idea. So, when you have a two-headed character, I find it easier to do the torso before you do the heads. And then instead of putting the head right in the center, just off-center it a little bit. And just put two in. Put them relatively close, and then key thing to remember, you're going to have slightly wider shoulders in general. Shoulders will wind up going in front of the neck. That's the thing to remember. So the shoulders kind of would go there. And then you can just do the heads as you would normally. Then a Hydra, you just kind of do something similar to that. Centipede, Starship, Trooper bugs. Let me just see what those look like. Oh, kind of like the antlions from Those kind of remind me of the antlions from Half-Life. I'm not going to bother making a girl of that or a monster character of that just because it's kind of already been covered largely. Yes, this will be posted later when it's done, because this is something that people seem to be wanting to see. Cool heads. I don't think a face-eating crab girl is anything specific. Alright, I've actually got another idea. So out of all the ideas that have been suggested here, wrap up, just because we're kind of running out of suggestions are starting to kind of run dry. What I'll do is you guys can choose one of the ones on the left side here, and I will do a streamed color drawing of it with commentary. Oh, werewolf. Okay, yeah, okay, I'll do a werewolf really quick, and then we can decide on that. Okay. So, werewolves. Gotta reach in with your inner furry. So werewolves, the thing with them is that they usually are going to have poor posture, very broad shoulders, and will kind of be partially capable of walking on all fours. So you're going to have big broad shoulders, big torsos. Again, going back to what I said about dragons and stuff, you're going to want to make sure for the snout that it kind of fits like a can on the face. The dog noses, they are typically shaped like this. Just remember the shape. Dog nose. You make the snout as short or as long as you want, depending on how human you want them to look. And then it's just largely kind of just drawing a wolf, except big. Got the feet there, the hawk like you would with the centaur and with the dragon. Connect it. Generally, werewolves will have fairly big paws, hands, whatever you want to call them. The thing with werewolves is also their claws will always be extended because they are canines, not feline, so they can't really retract or extend their claws. So that's one thing to remember. Remember when I was young and I would write werewolf characters, I would always give them retractable claws because I thought they were cool, and it's like, no, that's a cat. Fucking dumbass. And then if you want, you can give them a tail as well. I like my werewolves with tails. Some people prefer them with not. Yeah, that's about how you do a werewolf. Similar to the principles we've applied already. And if it's Monstergirl character, I don't know, you can do whatever you want. I actually have a few werewolf characters, but they're sentient werewolves. They don't go berserk and become mindless killers or anything. And one of them is a fucking MILF. Alright, so which ones do you want to see? Which one do you want to see color? Go ahead and vote, people. Go ahead and choose. Which one of these girls do you want me to color? I get to see 2 votes for the angler. Anglerfish would not be red. Anglerfishes are black and gray, because they are anglerfishes. I'm not looking for more suggestions on what to draw, I'm looking for what to color. Gotta vote for the harpy. Gotta vote for the slime. Gotta vote for the naga. I think people are starting to lean mostly towards the anglerfish. So, anglerfish seems like she wins. So I will do a finished piece for her. Here we go. First things first, I need to make my line art. God, I love working in CSP so much. Yeah, look on the screen. There's the chat box present. I'm running 3 streams at once. There's Twitch, Picarto, and YouTube, and all 3 chats are combined and displayed in the bottom of the screen. I will be posting all sketches on my Tumblr. This will just be flat colors. This won't be shaded or anything. And the thing is, I'm not streaming to 3 different sites. I am streaming through Restream, which is a service that I stream to once, and then it duplicates it for me to Picarto, YouTube, and Twitch. Pretty cool service. No, my anglerfish wouldn't do that. He only eats fish, he doesn't eat humans. She's too shy to eat a human. He's afraid of them. I think I forgot to give her was gills. Hey, have you guys heard of a game called Undertale? Wait, what Pokemon are we talking about now? Remember inside there's that one, like, creepy aquatic child. They're trying to drown you. I never played that game. I was kind of freaked out by the body horror aspect of it. Alright. Hair is really annoying to draw, by the way. In case anybody was concerned. I hate allergies. Alrighty. And to fill her in. Tacoed. Good. Now time to color her. Grayish teal. Let's do this. Do not exceed the line of the reference layer. Draw through the center of these without having to worry about clipping. And let's see, glowy bits. Give her white, teal, glowy bits. Fill. Bill Nye the Science Dude. Flow. Filter blur. Yes. Blur. There she is. Well, I feel like I should make these blue. I know I said I wasn't going to shade this, but I lied. What are you going to do about it? Alright, and that concludes this anglerfish girl. Where girl? I got a Monstergirl folder somewhere. Training. Where? Oops, that is not how you spell harpy, but whatever. Put in. Oh man. So many girls. There. 2. Centaur. E. Dragon. Time. Spider 1. Werewolf. I'm not going to bother saving this one. Or this one. Okay, that was the last one. Alright. I believe that sums up everything then. Thank you guys for coming out to watch. I'm gonna cut the stream here. Thank you guys for watching. Something like that. How do I learn how to draw without looking at my paper? Years of practice. And good eye-hand coordination. Playing a lot of video games actually helps, believe it or not. So, that wraps this up. I'm going to cut the stream here. And as usual, you can get me at zedrin-maybe.tumblr.com. And I am also on Twitter at ZedrinBot or something like that. Yeah, okay, bye.